What would you think if I told you that one of the ways to have more energy and more time in your life actually can begin with your mindset? A life giving mindset. When you do this shift, you begin seeing yourself differently, your world differently, and where you spend your time with your family. This is like the basic step we're talking about. Before we begin self care, this mind shift is so important. And so many women, and myself included, have struggled with it. And I am going to talk to you about how we can make this shift and begin focusing on our own care, which in return is going to help out your family.
Hey friend, do the daily demands of family life leave little time for self-care? Are you losing yourself in the process of caring for others? Are you ready to make self-care and healthy boundaries a natural part of your day while embracing your roles as a wife and mom? Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Christina, married 17 years to a neurodiverse man, mom of 3 neurodiverse kids, and many more roles. Welcome to the Moms and Neurodiverse Families podcast. Get ready to begin your self-care journey. Grab your planner and listen in as we take another small step towards a peaceful, healthier you.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to join me. I'm not sure if you're folding laundry or if you're taking a few moments as you're driving the car to listen to me, but thank you. When you have a chance and it's safe to do so, if you don't mind leaving me a 5-star review, if you've been a long-time listener, I would so appreciate it. When you leave those reviews, that helps other women find this podcast and for them also to find encouragement and hope. And if you are a new listener, please consider signing up for my email list, which is in the show notes. And I offer about every week to every 2 weeks an email to encourage you with some funny, funny stories from my crazy life. And speaking of life, I want to talk to you about your energy and where you're spending it. So imagine your energy every single day is like a battery. You have your battery. There is so much charge that's in there. Some days when you wake up, your battery is fully charged. Doo-doo-doo-doo. You can imagine a little battery being filled up. And other times your battery is like, it's low. You wake up and you're like, why is the low battery light already like flashing on my life? Why do I feel this tired? That is common for us women who are in these families, whether it's your spouse is neurodiverse, your kids neurodiverse, or both. Those battery levels can really fluctuate. And I want to encourage you to consider a mindset change that can be life giving. Imagine with me a road. You're driving down the road, and when you're driving, doesn't matter if you're in the United States or overseas in Europe or in Malaysia, wherever you're at, when you're driving, you need to stay on your side of the road, your area of the road, right? That is what you focus your energy on. Do you spend your time trying to control and make sure the other drivers are staying on their side of the road? Do you even have the ability to make that car stay in that lane? No, you don't. Are you watchful for those who are crossing over into your lane and you have to move over a little bit so you don't have an accident? Yep, we do that. But you cannot physically make that other car do or not do something. They may react to you, but that's just a guess, right? If you accidentally swerve into their lane, hopefully their car will swerve away, but they also have the choice not to react. So really, there is nothing that you can do to make the other car do something. There's a possibility of a reaction, but you have no 100% control. Yet in life, we will drive down the road of life, focusing on our side of the road, but sometimes we're focusing on the other side even more. We're focusing on our spouse and our kids and trying to make change, sometimes it's control, sometimes really it's helping them grow. And we're spending so much of our energy. And so when you talked about waking up in the morning and you have that low battery light already flicking, it's already showing you have low energy. Why are we spending our energy on someone else's side of the road? It can be that having a peaceful life, having quiet, preventing meltdowns because of the impact. There's all these reasons why we will try to focus on their side of the road. And I want to clarify this for a bit. Our roles are very important. The roles of a wife, of a mom, if you have a job or a business, if you are volunteering in your local church or an organization, all those roles are very important. And carrying out those roles takes energy and time. So, for example, in the home, you can spend your energy educating your kids, you're training them, you're coaching them along, but you cannot cause change. You can provide an environment to help them navigate and understand the world, but you cannot force them to learn emotional regulation. You cannot force them to understand other people's mindsets. You can only provide that environment, and then the choice is up to them. For your spouse, you can do the reading and provide input on how the relationship, how you want the relationship to grow, what your needs are, things that are hurtful, things that are helpful. You can provide them resources, podcasts, coaches, counselors that are neurodiverse trained and aware, but you cannot make them change. That's something that you can't do. If there's going to be a very active, busy day, you can prepare your kids or your spouse of what the day is going to be. You can foreshadow the problems you can see that will be coming up, but you cannot prevent 100% sensory overwhelm. You cannot do their regulation. Can you co-regulate, especially if they're younger or if, depending where they're at in their emotional or mental intelligence, maybe they need you with them to co-regulate, and that's great. But even when you co-regulate, you still cannot force them to be calmer. You can be a guide to them, but they ultimately have this choice. You can research and you can learn neurodivergent communication tips. If you focus not only on your part of the conversation, but on their part, and if you think, if I can do 80% of, if I can do my 50%, and maybe somehow I can do some of their 30% of the communication, we can prevent the miscommunications or the emotional back and forth that happens in relationships. That can happen. But you can't force your spouse to change and grow. You can provide the inputs, you can provide a favorable environment, but their choices are on their side of the road. So when we spend our energy and trying to do our responsibility on our side of the road, and when we spend also our energy on trying to craft their response and trying to cause their growth and change, we are spending energy. We're like throwing dollar bills out the window as we're driving down the road. That is what we're doing. Instead, still focus on making a good home environment, focus on providing those inputs, but stop yourself when you see you are trying to create the growth and change that only the other person can do. We can provide the feedback, we can provide natural consequences when someone does something that is a boundary breaking, but we can't cause or change. Instead, this is the mindset change, which is very life-giving for your self-care and for your family. Once you're done focusing on your responsibilities, then focus on what you can control. Again, you're in the car, your hands are on the steering wheel, and you are driving. You can control where that car goes. So therefore, put your energy towards controlling those areas which you have the most control on, which is yourself. This is your sleep. This is the food you eat. This is so pivotal, and I should have mentioned this before. Instead of focusing on, I can't change that, I can't change them, we need that. Some things, yes, are very difficult to change. Some things it is possible, it may take a long time to change. But when you focus on what you can't do and that's all that you see, you are missing the opportunity. This is sweet, tough love. But this mindset change is so needed if you want to see your own needs taken care of. When you begin focusing on what you can do instead of focusing on, I can't do this, I can't do that, it is just too hard. There's always these challenges and meltdowns. When you keep focusing on what you can't do and on the hardships, you are tying both hands behind your back and limiting yourself. I'm not saying this is easy. This is a major, major mind shift when you keep seeing the limitations, you keep seeing the hardships, and all of that tells you what reality is. And when you begin looking at what you can control and you begin focusing on the tiniest thing, something changes. And this is such a pivotal step in self-care. I feel like it's the baby step, and it's a mindset that you, like, yes, you cannot change the facts of the sensory dysregulation, the impacts of that, of the emotional, the lack of emotional connection, all those things. That is a reality. It cannot be changed. However, you can spend your time focusing on what you can do. The leaving the dishes dirty and going to bed early so you get better sleep. The choosing not to scroll and looking at social media and seeing these other families and comparing. The choice to park a little farther when you don't have the kids along, park a little farther away and take that extra walk. To, during your lunchtime, take a walk around the block a couple of minutes to get the mental refreshment, but also your energy. All those small things, like when you begin focusing on what you can do, it changes everything. And this is where the victim mentality can come in. You can see that basically I'm just responding to all the things that are happening in my family. And there's nothing really I can do. And instead you can say, I can do something. Now granted, maybe I can't go take a trip and go someplace for a week or two like other families can. Like, yes, we have these limitations. But look for what you can do. And look at that, change your mindset. Saying no to certain things, saying no to staying up late, and saying yes to getting good sleep, and then yes to eventually getting up earlier. Saying no to spending time on things that really don't refresh your brain or your body, and saying yes to things that do. Going out in nature, watching the sky, walking along a path with flowers, saying yes to those things in ways that you can. Sitting in your backyard even, if that's what you can do, and listening to music. If you live in more of an urban setting, then you're listening to some relaxing music, but you're getting outside, some fresh sunshine. I don't think there's any stale sunshine out there, but anyway, the fresh air. And begin seeing changes happen when you begin seeing what you can control. And especially looking for statements like, well, I can't do that. I couldn't let things go and let the house get messy to take some downtime for myself. Wait, we can. We prioritize having things a certain way, and sometimes we need to let go. So this is like a humongous, I can't stress to you, this sounds so tiny, but beginning to see what you can do. And again, we're not ignoring and doing like a toxic Pollyanna. Oh, yeah, this is all really just very hard, but somehow it'll work out. Like, no. Like we have to grieve the challenges, and we have to rejoice in the special, unique things of our family. Both are true, but focus on your side of the road. Focus on what you can control. This car, you can decide how fast you're driving or how slow you're driving. You can decide the pace. There's a lot you can do. And see, again, we're not ignoring what their limitations are, but you can begin making choices for yourself. And when you focus on what you can do, even the smallest thing, and I remember being just so encouraged, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go to bed 5 minutes earlier than I have been going for the last couple weeks. And then I was like, I'm going to go to bed 10 minutes earlier. And like, that is tiny. That's tiny adjustments, friends, right? That is so tiny. And other people will look at me like, you're crazy. Like, just go to bed earlier. Like, go to bed like a half an hour. I'm like, but this is so hard for me. But those small changes, they added up. I saw what I could do, what I could control. And instead of me being this boat that's out in the water and the waves and the wind are pushing me around and I really have no choice, instead I saw myself as, wait a second, I do have some agency. I can control the sails. I can steer the rudder. There's things that I can do. I can't stop the storm, but I can definitely do my best to steer things in a certain direction. And when you begin seeing it, it is powerful. And all of a sudden, it changes your mindset. And you begin making choices. And you're making less choices of trying to control and get the result that you want. And you begin making choices where it's giving back to you. And when your family sees that you are taking care of yourself, all of a sudden, there's small changes that they might not notice right away. But like my spouse, he noticed that I was more independent and I was taking care of my needs and I wasn't relying on him to be doing certain actions, to be meeting certain needs. And I was finding ways in a very biblical way, an honoring way, but I was finding ways to take care of myself. It began changing our relationship and he began seeing my growth and my change, and it caused him to in return to grow and to change and to be open, because I wasn't putting either pressure on him to be a certain way, or he realized that his wife was really finding enjoyment and connection with friends and other people, and he was missing out and he wanted that relationship. Now, not all husbands are the same. There's differences in their wiring, especially with neurodivergency, but your needs can start being met. And this is irregardless. The goal is not to get them to change, because again, that's up to them. And we don't want robots. Who wants to have a relationship with a robot? No one does. There are some unique things about your spouse and your kids that we don't want to change. So, quick recap. Keep doing your responsibilities. Create those environments that are helpful for them to learn and how to regulate themselves. Put in those natural consequences when kids are eating food and they don't like it, and instead of putting it down, they decide to throw it across the room. Like, there's consequences for doing that, along with and obviously with respect with where they are in their development. It can be they have to clean it up. They need to write a note of apology. There's some type of impact for that, right? Focus on yourself. Don't be focusing on getting them to get to that certain result, because that will drive you crazy. Crazy. And also, that denies their agency, and they begin feeling that pressure, and that changes their relationship when they have the freedom to go through this process on their own, and you have the freedom to go through this process on your own, and you have boundaries. Again, if someone is being hurtful and offensive, there are boundaries we put up. But as you begin focusing on yourself, that changes the dynamic. And then you begin seeing possibilities instead of victimhood. You see opportunities instead of martyrdom. And that is an important mindset change, because no one wants to be a child to someone who sees that they're being a martyr for their kids. Like, they don't want that. They want a mom. No one wants to be married to someone who sees their marriage like they're a victim in their marriage. They don't want that. Now, again, I'm talking about a husband who loves their wife but is struggling knowing how to relate. I'm not talking about abusive situations. There's a difference here. But spouses who truly love, like husbands who truly love their wife and care for them, but they have these challenges, they want to know that their spouse loves them as a wife. and is not feeling like, oh, they have to do this because they have no other choice. There's a difference there. But for you to get there, you need to begin seeing your ability to choose, your ability to focus on what you can control. So as you go forth, what would it look like if you began, stop trying to drive in someone else's lane and trying to cause them to change direction, grow, whatever that would be? What if you stayed in your lane? And it's hard sometimes, right? Because we feel like if I just did this one thing, then they would change and be better. But what if you stayed in your lane? You made sure you provide a good, you're snow plowing, you're putting down sand or salt, you're maintaining the road, you're updating the road, you're fixing the potholes, right? You're focused on your side of the road. But what if you just did that and you didn't spend your energy on the other stuff? There can be tremendous impact slowly over time. So feel free to message me on where do you struggle and sitting in your side of the road. This is something that I think feel like we all face, and we have to kind of correct, get the warning from our car telling us like, nope, you're in someone else's lane. We need that reminder so that we can conserve our energy and do our self-care so we can be the wife and the mom that we really want to be.
Hey, thank you for joining me today. I pray this episode gave you encouragement to take one small step. If so, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help other women find this show. By the way, if you're loving this conversation and want more encouragement like this, join my email list at bit.ly/myselfcare. That is bit.ly/myselfcare. I have a planner launching soon that will help you put all this into action in your own life. I look forward to chatting with you again next week for another episode.